Hey Grokites, very exciting day. I am here with Grace Helbig.
Yay.
She is a YouTuber, she's a comedian, she's a super awesome, funny, smart, all-around awesome person.
How dare you?
We are going to answer some of your questions.
Yay.
So I specifically asked for questions for you and for me,
Awesome.
but mostly for you, about mental health and being a comedian and where the intersection of those lies.
Cool.
So let's get into some questions.
Let's do it.
Chronically_ill_chronicle. How can humor be used as a coping skill? Because I really want to be able to reframe my perspective and be humorous about some of my struggles. That's a good question.
It's a really good question. For me, it's one of the greatest tools of coping. I always think, you can have both sides of the coin. You can feel sad or depressed about something, and then you're also allowed to think that that's silly and to kind of take things in a lighter sense. What about you?
I can be really, really fixated and ruminate in either something or the way I'm dealing with something.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is about perspective. If someone else were seeing this happen, is there anything that I could find that could be a relief about it?
Totally.
There's this expression, if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's true.
Absolutely. Also, I think time, too. I think, sometimes a situation for yourself or someone else might be too new or fresh or whatever it might be, that if you get space or time or distance from an issue, it becomes way more laughable.
And that's why they say that comedy is tragedy plus time.
Yes, exactly. Bring it back to the science of it.
All right, next question. Sarah at Grace N. Mummis. How do you make light of mental health problems without crossing the line into offending people? I think comedy is a great way to feel better about the crappy stuff, but it can be easily misconstrued.
If I'm talking about anxiety, which is something I've experienced, or I'm talking about eating disorders, which is something I've experienced, and someone gets offended by it, I have to remind them that my intention is good. I would want to hear the things I'm saying at the time that I was struggling.
Right.
And so, but if I'm just, for lack of a better word, on someone's pain for the sake of making myself feel better, and the intention is negative, then that's not the right way. But as long as you know that someone is approaching something with an intention to heal or to create some sort of positive light, I think that you don't have to worry too much about offending people.
Well, and I think it's really interesting that, just as we were talking about, everybody has a different sense of humor.
Yeah.
So that's also something that, as comedians, you don't know if someone's going to have your sense of humor.
Right.
And a lot of times, if someone's right in the middle of something complicated, especially regarding mental health, if you're joking about it because you have some distance from it, and they're right in the middle of it, I've noticed that that's a real trigger point.
Yeah.
Because people can feel like you're specifically attacking them. So a lot of it is about a cultural sensitivity to being compassionate.
Yes.
For where everyone is in their journey. Okay, Christina at Oddly Unromantic says, is there any pressure put on you by others or by your own self to be funny? If so, how does that play on your mental health? That's a really good question,
That's
too.
a really great question, and the answer is definitely yes, and especially because comedy, when you're growing up, is a fun thing to explore, and then when it becomes your job, that's when the pressure becomes more relevant. You have to surround yourself with good people that keep you grounded, that remind you that not everything is as serious as you think it is, but there's definitely pressures that get put on you, and especially in a space like YouTube where you're putting yourself out there and you're providing some sort of entertainment on your own volition to people, and then you feel a sense of obligation sometimes.
The question, does that play on your mental health? I kind of think that my mental health plays on everything and not the other way around.
Yeah.
So kind of everything that I'm presented with or challenges as a comedian or to write or to perform, that all gets seen through the lens of my anxiety or my depression or whatever else is going on or whatever else I'm dealing with in my mental health. I sometimes think, gosh, why am I in this industry that's constantly comparing me, judging me, making me have to think about my body and all these things? It's an extra set of challenges, but I also feel like some of the reasons that I am in that world is because of my uniqueness and my mental health, that I'm a person who's creative, and those are all the things about me that just make me me.
Exactly, and I think comedy is, thank God, an available tool for me to kind of exacerbate any of my anxiety or mental health.
Right.
It's up here, and then this is a little comedy car that comes by and takes some of it away for me from time to time, which is so wonderfully needed.
Oh, the comedy car.
The comedy car.
Can it come to my house?
Yeah, it's got 12 clowns in it.
Okay, good.
It's great.
Kristen Leal at Kristen Leal says, I'd love to know, this is a heavy one.
Okay.
I'd love to know about the mental health implications of self-deprecating humor. It's my favorite kind of humor.
Ooh,
It
yeah.
can be a lot of fun to make fun of yourself. How far is too far? Wow.
Yeah, that's
Put on your doctor hat for that one.
The nice thing and the sometimes stressful thing about being on YouTube, you get to read comments, you get to have interactions, you get to, you know, have a two-way conversation with your audience. And so a lot of times I'll read comments that are like, you're getting a little too self-deprecating. Are you okay? And that's where I have to be like, ooh, yeah, I gotta kind of lean back from that a little bit, maybe evaluate some things. Because I love self-deprecating comedy. I think
it is cathartic also.
It's very cathartic. It also, I think, to me, is just a sign of self-awareness, which is something I really admire in you know, other people. But I do think that it can cross a line. I don't think there's one definitive line for every person, but I think it can cross a line of like, do you want to talk about something? Like, are you really okay?
That's a good. I'm gonna have to think of that now
Yeah.
when I am feeling like I want to write another self-deprecating script.
But that's what art's here for, to get some of that
right.
self-deprecation out.
It's true. But yeah, I think that in terms of like, you know, how far is too far, I definitely think that the things that you think about yourself do impact the way you present yourself.
Yes.
And I think it's important to provide a mixture, either in your head or in the comedy or the work that you present, so that you have at least a notion of hope.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like that phoenix rising from the ashes.
Yes,
like
yes,
that
yes.
concept has to exist, or even in your own head to know that you're not just all of those self-deprecating things
Yeah.
that it's often fun to kind of poke fun at yourself about.
Yeah, because you can definitely fall down your own wormhole of self-deprecation. So at least give yourself
I did
a
that
rope.
just before I got here.
It happens all the time. And
Yep.
sometimes you don't know when you're going to step in the hole.
Yeah.
It just presents itself.
Sometimes it's when you step out of bed.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
Too far? Did we go too far?
90s Forever 90 at S4EVR says, is it easier to be in comedy or drama? But I think more importantly, how does anxiety affect your performance, if at all?
Ooh, I heard something recently. I started getting anxiety when a few years into performing comedy when I lived in New York, and I fought against it so much, which just, you know, creates more anxiety. And then recently, within like the last 2 years or so, I heard someone say something about anxiety, that if you reframe it, that anxiety is just misplaced excitement about something, and you start to see it as a positive thing rather than this, oh my God, this negative emotion that you just can't get out of your body. It seems so simple, but it helped me a lot. Because I love feeling excited about things, especially comedy, and especially about performing, especially about creating something. And so being able to think before I go on stage or before I make a video that this swelling stuff that I'm feeling is good because I care about the thing I'm about to do rather than I'm like dreading what I'm doing has really helped me kind of manage that. It doesn't make it go away, but it helps you manage, I think.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I've kind of decided to not be shy about the fact that I'm an anxious performer.
Yeah.
And that like that might have been something that I would have been ashamed of, or that would have felt like an accusation or a diagnosis. But for me, and it may not be true for everybody, I take comfort in the fact that I acknowledge that this is part of who I am. Is that when I perform, I'm anxious. And for me, that also drives a lot of that kind of excited energy. And for me, it really makes me feel present, and it makes me, you know, if it can go out of control, it can be very uncomfortable, and it can be physiologically dangerous. And obviously, that's not what we're talking about. And you want to seek proper medical attention if it does. But that the other range of anxiety, which many of us live with, can often be a real kind of like motivating energy.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to think about it.
I want to thank Grace so much for spending all of this fun time with us.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
really inspired by you.
Vice
I think
versa.
that the fact that you present yourself so in such an articulate way, and you're funny and you're smart, and you talk about things that some people are afraid to talk about, and I've just had a really great time with you.
Thank you. That's so sweet. Vice versa.
I feel really cool just hanging out with Grace Helbig.
Oh, I forgot to show you. Yeah, I'm wearing this shirt that says Anxiety Queen.
Oh, I love it. Where's
Yeah.
mine? All right, let's say the things that we say at the end of videos.
Ready? Here we go. Here's the outro. You guys can find me on YouTube at Grace Helbig across all social media platforms, youtube.com/Grace Helbig. You can also listen to our episode of my podcast, Not Too Deep, on SoundCloud, iTunes, all the fun places. Yeah.
Clearly, she is much better at this than I am. Go to GrokNation.com, which is my website. Check out my YouTube videos that are also on this page. Leave your comments below if you have more questions for me or for Grace. And I think that's it. Thank
Nailed
you
it.
for watching. Woo!
Bye.